Okay, here's part 2 of a short video series on what's really going on in the world and how to fix it. Okay, so you've got a particular group of people who are trying their very best to undermine everyone else. So how do you deal with that? Well, what you'd like to do is to pick them up by the scruff of their necks and toss them out of whatever position that they are in where they're doing this damage. At the moment, I'll talk from the perspective of an Englishman, which is what I am. I'm from the United Kingdom. We, as a people, are not unified enough to produce that outcome. We can't get these people out of the positions that they have wormed their way into so that we can solve the problem. First, we have to work upon ourselves as a nation, as a national group. And I would also advise other people in other nations to do the same, because this same group of people I'm talking about are busying themselves 24 hours a day, 365 days a year in every other country you can conceive of in the world to produce the same sorts of outcome. It's what they do. It is their business. It's what they do. It is their culture. Okay? You may find this hard to believe, but it's true. If you know who I'm talking about, it will become evident to you very, very quickly. Now, the positions that these people have gotten themselves into make it very difficult to speak incredibly openly about what they're doing and who they are. So I leave it open, and this is actually an opportunity. I used to feel frustrated by it, but now I realize it's an opportunity, because it means that only the people who are worth being in positions of leadership, that is, people who are actually intelligent enough to hold that responsibility, will pursue the topic far enough to realize what's going on and to come up with solutions and to cooperate with other such people to produce and carry out these solutions to these problems. So yes, it's difficult to speak very openly, but you don't have to. All you have to do is state what's going on and let the rest of the worthwhile people who, to be honest, it's a good test. If a person can figure it out for themselves, then they are worthwhile. If you have to deliver the news to them, if you have to give them the information, then really you're carrying them for the rest of the time that you're interacting with them. So all I can do is state everything that a person could possibly need to see in order to figure out the problem for themselves and leave it to them. And only then will that person actually be worthwhile in the course of solving these problems. So these people have been busy for a long time. It's their business. Okay? Once you begin to understand what their culture is and what they do and why they do it, it will sicken you. But after a while, you'll begin to just merely understand what it is as a function. You'll begin to see that it is simply something which is taking place, which you have to address. But what they do is they come up with strategies to undermine others. Okay, so we've got feminism, we've got liberalism. Okay, those are two pretty strong problems that we have to deal with. Okay, liberalism is everyone should be free to do whatever they want to do, which really appeals to a part of us that wants to be at liberty to do whatever we want to do. And that's the problem. It's a mask. Okay? Beneath it, it is we will try to undermine and undo all of the structures of society by telling people that anyone who obeys these structures is merely controlled and being exploited. It's the same theory, actually, as communism. They work, which was essentially created by the same crowd. They work on destabilizing nations so that they can control them. They tell everyone, imagine if you wanted to destabilize your opponent's business and you set about a whispering campaign among their employees telling them that their employer is some sort of bad guy. You would dirty his name, you would tell people that he is trying to exploit his staff and blah 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 blah. And eventually what you try to do is break the connection between him and his staff, right? The business can't produce success which will be enjoyed by the staff who are part of the business and those who own the business if there's a friction between the leadership of the business and the people who work in the business. the staff. Now this is the same as what these people have tried to create with regard to our nations. The leadership of our nations in the communist sort of plan is attacked, and the people who are the general people of the nation are told that their leadership is against them, is anti them, wants to crush them and destroy them. Their leadership is attacked in any way possible. And then the people are told, and you can have power if you overthrow them. But that never happens. What really happens is the people who cause the overthrowing just end up in power. So it's just a way of using the people who are already under control and actually part of the general population, making the country work. It's a way of using them to destroy what they had so that you can take over, and then they end up in exactly the same position or worse. I mean, if I look at the Soviet Union, the people there were very, 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 very highly controlled, because if they were given the very freedom that they were promised, they would have overthrown the idiots who took over. So they were not in a better position. What had happened is there was an invasion, shall we say, and an overthrow of the existing regime. And that is frankly what these people are about. They do it in sneaky means because they're not strong. They're weak. They are snide. They are snivelling. This is how these people work. They work in secret, they plot and they plan, which is why they want you to dirty anyone who, or they want you to think that anyone who says that there are conspiracies between people going on and point them out to you, they want you to think, oh no, they're idiots, they're weird. It's not true. Imagine this, the word conspiracy, okay? It exists. Why? Because people do conspire. People have conspired throughout history. Conspiracy exists. That's why we have a word for it. But when you point the finger at a specific, particular conspiracy that you're aware of, oh, that person's a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, that's what these people do. And they can do it because they have control of our media. Not only the mainstream, they are heavily involved in what you would say is counter to the mainstream. So a lot of this stuff which you would see as alternative, they're controlling the same thing. They're putting out, it's called controlled opposition. They're putting out media which apparently opposes them, but it doesn't. It just leads you down the garden path, which is why it's important that, well, frankly, it doesn't do any harm, because the people who are eventually going to be able to solve this problem, I include myself in that number, are intelligent enough to see through this nonsense and ignore it. But it's up to us to try and get the rest of our people off of that stuff. But in order to do so, we have to produce our own correct, proper media, which is going to tell the truth. And boy, oh boy, these people don't want that. To them, the truth is an anathema. It is very dangerous because everything they do is predicated upon lies. But that's its weakness. But it does take a bit of courage to speak the truth about these people. You have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in a position of vulnerability, but therein is leadership. So that's, again, a good filter. People who are worthwhile will step up to the challenge. But again, you've got to be careful, because a lot of these people who are supposed leaders, they are put there so that they can be pulled down, so that you never know who to follow. Which is why this is a very difficult but very worthwhile endeavour, because it does purify things. No one's perfect. So there will be, any leader makes mistakes. But what is more important than anything else is honesty. And that's very, very hard in a somewhat murky world. And these guys have made the world even murkier than it ever needed to be, to hide what they're doing. But eventually you'll see them. You will see them. They can't hide forever. The light eventually shines on them. And then you'll see how ugly they are. And it's a pity, because they don't really need to behave that way. But they think they do, and they have decided to. And that's the challenge we face.